I've gotten out of 2 tickets this way, but it didn't work the 3rd time.
Wow.
Which was my first ticket in like 7 years. Radical honesty. I literally, when they approached, I just profusely apologized. I literally 3 times. It's worked twice. I am so sorry. I made a huge mistake. I was going over the speed limit. I feel terrible. I'm wasting your time. This is a waste of all of our time. I'm so sorry.
Do you explain why you were speeding?
Maybe. I can't remember. They probably asked. I think I just said, like, I didn't realize it. I definitely realized it.
So by radical honesty, you mean radical dishonesty?
Radical manipulation. All right, here we go.
I think you realized after
All right,
you
none
said
of this
it.
can be. We're on the mics are hot, man. The mics are hot. These things are on. 3, 2. This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Friday, the real Friday, June 3rd, and today's pod is the best one yet.
TBLY. Nick, before we hit this story, we got a bunch of corrections. Guess who designed the Vince Lombardi Trophy in 1966?
It's one name, Tiffany.
Tiffany did the NFL's championship trophy.
The same company that made your girlfriend's necklace is making the trophies for the NFL too.
So thankful my dad is not hearing this right now.
Did Big Ted have a conniption, Jack?
He would if he knew this.
Big Ted is going to have a conniption. In the meantime, today's pod, Jack, first story, what do we got?
Salient Predictions is a company that just raised money for their super weather app.
Besties, what if you knew right now what the weather would be on the 4th of July?
Next year.
Yeah.
For our second story, Hewlett-Packard just realized the future of work may come down to one thing.
The perfect conference room.
And our third and final story is Sheryl Sandberg, the OG chief operating officer of Facebook. She just left Meta.
Here's her legacy for all of tech. Scalable meets vulnerable.
Very interesting, Nick.
Very curious, Jack.
Before we hit that wonderful mix, though.
The perfect way to kick off a Hot Pod Summer Friday, Jack.
It's only June, but we already have the best movie of 2022.
We do, Jack. What's the movie of the year?
Toilets.
Toilets. Get this. An Oscar-winning director is making a movie on Japan's toilets. And what's it called, Jack?
Tokyo Toilet.
We're talking 120 minutes of full-length feature film starring toilets.
Not Tom Huddleston, not Kate Winslet or Tim Tebow.
No. It's starring toilets.
In the United States, Yetis, the toilet is taboo.
Yeah, we don't talk toilet. We don't touch toilet. You can't even find a toilet.
If you gotta go to the bathroom in public, you have to beg some store clerk to make an exception to the rule.
I'm going to be really quick. It's just 1 sec. Yeah, I'll buy a muffin.
And then you're sitting sorely on a cold, hard plastic bench with a hole in it.
And then you run out of the place because you just used the bathroom for 30 seconds.
In Japan, however, the experience is completely different than the toilet experience here.
Yeah, in Japan, public toilets are shrines to humanity's 2 big needs.
They're dishes of great dignity over there.
Yeah, they didn't just put tech in their phones. They put tech in their toilets.
Get this, 80% of Japan's toilets wash you.
The seats are warmed, the cushions are shaped, and the flush, it is tranquil.
Who knows? You may be listening to this pod right now from a toilet.
How uncomfortable does that make you feel? We know who you are.
How comfortable are the toilets on this hemisphere?
Not that toilet. Jack, what's the takeaway here for our buddies making films about toilets?
It's about time a toilet got the Oscar-winning respect they deserve.
Let's flush our 3 stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, weather startup Salient Predictions just raised money for super predictions.
If we know the weather 6 months from today, that could change the whole economy.
Besties, the only weather alert push notification that we need, is it shorts weather or is it not shorts weather?
I actually need, should I bring my umbrella or should I leave it at home? That's all I need.
Jack, if you knew the shorts weather thing,
Oh, that's
then
true.
you don't need the umbrella one. You don't need
Well,
the umbrella.
if it's
a
hot,
catch-all.
it can rain. You need both shorts and an umbrella.
Yeah, but then that just means your legs need a good wash, Jack. That's what that means. In the meantime, Salient Predictions just raised $5 million. They're a smaller startup than we would typically cover.
But what Salient is trying to do has such huge implications for the economy. We had to cover this story.
We did, because right now, Yetis, weather forecasting, it's limited to a 10-day forecast.
If you want to know what the weather is in 3 weeks, you got to wait a week for it to show up on your weather app.
A meteorologist pulls up some map, then makes some cloud emojis appear, and boom, that's the weather forecast.
Yeah, it's going to be 70s and sunny tomorrow, except for the 80% chance of precipitation in the north by northwest wind gust.
And we've got a cumulus nimbus cloud pattern over here, followed by a system developing over the Gulf.
Salient Predictions is trying to disrupt the weather person because they think they can predict the weather up to 1 year from today.
We repeat, they're predicting weather a year from now. They are an atmospheric fortune teller.
Now, here is the key to this startup that's based just outside of Boston.
Salient has found different variables to predict weather than the local weather guy does.
Currently, the local weather guy looks at air pressure and air density to predict rain and temperature.
But Salient isn't some Doppler 5000 weather machine. What is Salient looking at, Jack?
Salient's going to grab a little eyedropper and take a sample from the ocean.
Right. They focus on the ocean temperature and water movements to predict the weather, which gives them a longer time horizon.
Salient believes the whole weather industry has been ignoring all the data that's in the water in the oceans.
Basically, they've created an Al Roker supercomputer that's focused on the oceans.
And so your weather app, open it up right now. It's not going to say 69 degrees. Remember, we talked about that. But it will tell you it's going to rain in Cincinnati on Saturday the 16th.
Well, Salient says that rain in Cincinnati is coming on Saturday, 6 months from now.
But this isn't just like, should I wear shorts tomorrow? This technology could save lives.
Yeah. Remember that Texas freeze, Jack? The one last year? That was just a shocker?
The whole state of Texas was frozen and they had no water.
Well, Salient says they can predict extreme events in weather like that 30 days in advance.
30 days in advance. Imagine how Texas could have prepared for that freeze.
Now, Jack and I jumped in T-Boy style. There are, of course, skeptics here. You know, historically, weather tech, it improves only linearly.
And what Salient Predictions is talking about, this is a step function improvement in weather forecasting technology, which would be remarkable.
But if it does work, it feels like a takeaway moment. So, Jack, what is the takeaway for our weather buddies over at Salient?
Knowing one unknown can change the entire economy.
Yetis, we're talking about seeing into the future here.
We're talking about seeing into the future.
Okay, there are powerful implications the more data you know about the future.
The first clients of Salient Predictions are going to be insurance companies.
Because if an insurance company knows a hurricane is coming in 6 months, they're going to let that policy expire in 3 months.
They're like, oh, you have an oceanfront property? Why don't you work with this insurance company?
But the way Jack and I see this, the power is way more than an insurance. Because if airlines know a storm schedule a month ahead, that could limit cancellations.
If hotels know it's going to be a gorgeous weekend in June of 2023, they can up the rates for that weekend today.
If the ski industry expects no January snow, they could rent some machines that make snow from another ski mountain that doesn't need it a month in advance.
And can we talk about vacation planning? You'd never have a vacation with bad weather ever again.
Jack, each of these changes in behavior, it's going to have ripple effects on the ripple effects.
This feels like Marty McFly when he messes with one thing in the past and it changes everything about the future.
Because knowing this one unknown is knowing the future.
And knowing that could change the entire economy.
For our second story, yesterday, Jack and I were telling you how Elon Musk thinks work from home is a joke.
But HP just spent $3 billion to acquire a company that specializes in work from home.
Shocker, Hewlett-Packard is the opposite of Elon Musk.
HP is the oldest dinosaur of Silicon Valley.
Jack, take us back to 1938. Let's pop in some history.
It's the Depression, isn't it? Hewlett and Packard, two guys, literally invented the computer in their garage in Palo Alto.
Silicon Valley, like Silicon Valley, that's where it comes from. Those two Stanford grads who basically invented computers.
If they invented it in somewhere else, they'd call Silicon Valley somewhere else.
Yeah, well, nearly 100 years later, HP, Hewlett-Packard, is selling enough laptops and enough computers to be worth a whopping $40 billion.
That's about 6 lifts.
But boom, Hewlett-Packard just dropped $3.3 billion to acquire a smaller company called Poly.
Poly is banking on CEOs who are the opposite of Elon Musk.
What they're banking on is hybrid work.
More specifically, Poly is trying to perfect the conference room for a hybrid work future.
Basically, here's how the business model works. They're going to come in and they're going to service your conference room. They're going to upgrade this thing.
Yeah, they're going to look at your conference room or your home office and strategically place cameras and microphones in all the right places.
They're like pulling an exhibit on this. They're going to strategically techify the room so James and Janine can brainstorm on a whiteboard from headquarters.
While Scott in Scottsdale zooms into the meeting, and Victoria over in the Venice office, she phones into the meeting.
So they're decking out this single room like it's a Hollywood studio, so your Zoom meetings feel like actual in-person meetings.
Which leads to Polly's mission statement. They want total equality between those who are in the room and those who are not in the room.
And they're going to use more cameras than an MTV reality show. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Poly?
Like a ripe maple tree, nothing is sweeter than an untapped market.
Get this. To buy Poly, HP is paying nearly double Poly's stock price this week.
Poly is selling for such an incredibly high stock price, not because they got a cute mission statement.
No, Poly got a $3.3 billion sweet offer because it showed an untapped market that HP needs to capitalize on.
And that untapped market is conference rooms.
Yeah, just check out Poly's investor deck. We jumped in T-Boy style. Jack, what's going on slide 5?
On slide 5, Poly highlights that there are 50 million conference rooms.
And here is the key. Only 10% of those 50 million conference rooms have video conferencing capabilities.
The other 90% is the untapped market.
Jack, that's 45 million conference rooms that could get pimped out with Poly's cameras and mics.
That's 45 million conference rooms is HP's untapped market.
And nothing is sweeter than that untapped maple tree. And now word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
We see ads all the time.
All over the place, $10 off this $5 promo code for that, Jack. You can buy 3 suits, you can get 1 free.
But something we always thought was cool about Robinhood, the free stock promo.
Yeah, this was wild. The promo isn't like some X amount of dollars. It's 1 stock.
If you signed up for Robinhood, they'd thank you with a single share in a publicly traded company on the house.
And that free stock promo, it actually helped drive Robinhood's growth and got new users in the stock market right away.
One of the most creative moves in promotional history.
So when Robinhood became our sponsor, naturally, Jack and I said, we got to do the free stock giveaway.
If you're not on Robinhood yet and you want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and get cash to select your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or the podcast.
For our third and final story before the weekend, Sheryl Sandberg just resigned from Facebook.
Her legacy is that automation is insanely scalable, but it's insanely vulnerable too.
2008, Jack, 2008, Zuck's fashion was, he was still wearing hoodies, mostly hoodies.
Yeah, the only thing Zuck had zucked by then was the Winklevi.
The OG Zucking.
And in 2008, that's also the year that Sheryl Sandberg joined Facebook as the chief operating officer.
And look, Jack and I are no LinkedIn, but Sheryl had a ridiculously good resume.
She was chief of staff to Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who continues to write op-eds all the time.
Oh, and then Jack, I see a bullet here. It says she built an ad business for a tech startup.
Oh yeah, that tech startup was Google.
Yeah, Sheryl basically built Google's ad business.
So then she was 38 and joined Facebook when Zuck was 23 years old.
And Sheryl became the chief operating officer of Facebook. And Jack, what did Sheryl focus on there?
Ads.
Yeah.
When you think of Sheryl Sandberg, you think of the Facebook advertising machine, which she built with automation.
Yetis, automation, it isn't just another resume bullet. Automation is what killed newspapers.
Newspapers needed ads to survive, and they sold those ads manually.
You called someone, you negotiated a price, and then boom, you got a page with an ad in a newspaper.
All right, Ray-Ban, you got an ad on page A4 this Tuesday. 100,000 people in the greater Springfield area might see it.
Yeah. Well, Sheryl eliminated every inch of human interaction with her Facebook ad machine and everything Jack just said.
With Facebook, Ray-Ban gets an ad that will only be seen by adult women who are wearing sunglasses in their profile picture and who recently checked in that they went to Lollapalooza on that sunny Chicago day.
And any advertiser could do all of that without a single human interaction.
That is how Facebook became a $1 trillion company.
Exactly. The insanely scaled global ads operation.
Facebook became a $1 trillion company because Sheryl built automation.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Facebook?
Automation is insanely scalable, but it's insanely vulnerable too.
Sheryl Sandberg was a pioneering role model for women in business. The whole lean in movement, that is Sheryl. That's her movement.
That's her movement. She's a mother of two and became the most famous non-CEO in the business world.
But sadly, Sheryl's legacy is tied up in the 2016 election, actually in a whole bunch of global elections.
Yeah, that's why maybe you haven't heard much from Sheryl Sandberg the past few years.
In 2016, Russian intelligence agents blasted American Facebook scrollers with false, confusing, and divisive information.
Nobody noticed or did anything about it until after the election was already over.
Because Facebook's system was automated.
With no humans involved, Facebook's automation scaled and moved so fast.
But with no humans involved, Facebook's automation broke so many things. Jack, can you whip up the Tiffany's design takeaways for us over there?
Salient Predictions believes they can predict weather up to a year out.
Yeah, knowing that one unknown, that could change the entire economy.
For our second story, HP is buying Poly because of the hybrid work future.
Like a maple tree, nothing is sweeter than an untapped market.
For our third and final story, thanks to the ad machine that Sheryl Sandberg built, Facebook became a $1 trillion company.
Automation, insanely scalable, insanely vulnerable. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Aaron and his mom, Angie England, over in Fresno, California.
Push and play now.
Hey there, besties and Yetis. June 3rd is the world's Clubfoot Day. My name is Aaron. I'm a 9-year-old Yeti. I was born with Clubfoot.
And I'm Aaron's mom.
About 1 in every 1,000 babies are born with Clubfoot. Most children are treated with Clubfoot with small surgeries and casting. Some kids, like me, have several surgeries.
Despite the challenges, many people with Clubfoot grow up to be remarkable athletes. Mia Hamm, Christy Yamaguchi, Troy Aikman, Charles Woodson, Freddie Sanchez, Jim Messier, Tom Dempsey, and Michael Hauser, to name a few. Other famous individuals such as Dudley Moore, Damon Wayans, and Sir Walter Scott also face the journey of Clubfoot. June 3rd celebrates the birthday of Dr. Ponsetti, who is the father of modern Clubfoot treatment.
So do something fabulous with your feet today and make it a T-boy.
That was fantastic.
Honestly,
Aaron,
we could not have said that finish for this podcast better than Aaron.
Aaron, we could tell you're going to do amazing things just like those famous people you just mentioned.
Thank you for the best fact yet. Besties and Yetis, you looked fantastic all week, and Jack and I would love to hang out with you later today on our usual weekly live T-Boy Live.
T-Boy Live on Instagram at TBoyPod at 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 Pacific.
Jack and I will see you there. Celebrate some wins. And before we go, Chrissy and Keith are getting married Great Gatsby style over in Newport, Rhode Island.
Hey there, old sport. And after a 2-year delay, Fabio and Valentina are getting married in Rome.
It's that Fabio. Oh, and hey, Alexa, Chuck Chiamelu has a new job at Amazon Music.
Congratulations to Michelle, the rock climber Waller, who's graduating in Clovis, California.
And Emmanuel Sabwami is graduating high school in Beaver Creek, Ohio.
Got a new master in the house with Jasmine White, who's graduating from Brown.
And Mikey, happy birthday over in Hebron, Maryland.
Happy birthday to Jared Harmon, who's celebrating in Portland, Oregon.
And Deeksha Gautam celebrating down in Mexico City.
Happy birthday to Seth and Lexi Spalding in Austin, Texas.
And happy birthday to Kevin Zhang over in Dover, New Hampshire.
And big happy birthday to Khalil Bryant in Nashville, Tennessee. And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-Boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. Nick and I both own stock of Robinhood.
And now a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
The first time we swiped up to buy a stock on Robinhood, whoa.
Yeah, Jack, you get like that zzz, like little vibration. Boom, you've done a trade.
It wasn't just an incredible app. Robinhood added incredible resources too.
It started with the Help Center. Everyone has that.
Then came Robinhood Snacks, digestible financial news.
Then came the newsfeed, providing free third-party news from trusted sources.
And then came Robinhood Learn, a huge trove of articles explaining what the heck an ETF is.
Yeah, spoiler, it's like a stock smoothie. Jack and I actually wrote the article on that one.
If you're not on Robinhood yet, want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and choose a free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. And by the way, Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or the podcast.